Welcome to Mye Journey, a series of podcasts focusing on a multiple myeloma expert and her patient's journey from diagnosis to what the future may hold. This episode of Mye Journey is presented by Duke Cancer Institute and is funded by donations to the Multiple Myeloma Research Fund. Neither Dr. Gasparetto nor Thomas Goode have been compensated for their participation in this program.
I currently serve as a consultant and speaker to a number of pharmaceutical companies and treatment organizations. And for the most up-to-date list of my disclosures, please go to my page at dukehealth.org.
My name is Thomas Goode, and disclosures include working with GlaxoSmithKline.
This video podcast is the third in a series of 4 featuring Cristina Gasparetto and Thomas Goode in a candid conversation about their physician-patient journey. Their journey includes building a strong relationship to support their struggles, successes, and a path through the future. In the previous episode, we discussed how Dr. Gasparetto and Thomas worked to build their relationship. Now we're going to hear how that work paid off with a relationship that has supported their journey through difficult times and positive times. This episode will really be dedicated to sharing stories from both sides on how the partnership and bond you've created has underpinned the patient-physician journey through hard and triumphant times. So let's start out talking about some of those tough times. How did you lean in on your relationship to support you during that time?
Basically, when I felt something different, I was at home on my couch relaxing, and I felt a pain in my back. And it was, I work out all the time, so I can tell the difference between a workout pain and this, but this was totally different. So I send a message to them and say, hey, I feel something different. I said, could you request a PET scan? And they said, why? I said, I feel something different. And they was like, okay, you know your body. So when the results came back, it was exactly what I had thought. It was a tumor, a mass right in that area where I had suggested or suspected. And I didn't get the initial answer from her because I had to get it from somebody else, because she felt like she couldn't give it to me because she didn't want to be the bearer of bad news. And that's just part of how our relationship has grown, because it's more or less, I can't tell him that his cancer is back.
Yeah.
I don't know why. She's a specialist. She's a doctor. You're supposed to tell me these things, but
but that is the key. We are human too. We have emotions, and we are not like a robot. That I know that every time I see a patient, before I walk in a room or I just turn on my computer when I do televideo, I check everything, right? And I look at the labs, the imaging, and sometimes I have palpitations because I open the bone marrow results and I see the myeloma, and I'm like, how can I deliver that now? Because these are patients that they have a lot of hope, and they have their life, and you're telling the myeloma is back. We have to start over, so it's not easy for us too, and sometimes patients appreciate that, and they help us to say it's okay. Sometimes it's difficult to understand. We're human. We fall in love with our patients. We want to see them succeed. I have a lot of patients who I follow for many years, and some they have more unusual stories than others. They're young, and or even what bothers me sometimes is they don't have access they have socioeconomic difficulties, and when I deliver the news, you have to start over. They can come to our clinic, they don't have support, and sometimes I struggle with the recommendations because I think about all of that. But as I say, to go back to I remember very well because I remember calling my team and I say, I'm not going to call him, I'm not going to tell him. I think I had Scott. Scott is one of the myeloma PA. He's been doing this job for many years, and he became a close friend to Thomas too. I think I had him to do that that time. I don't do that anymore right now. I became a little bit more courageous, but but sometimes it's difficult, and you have to walk in the room and deliver comfort and reassurance and say, don't worry about this is what's the tests are showing, but it's good that we found out so we can start over, we can do this and that, but it's not easy for us.
It's not easy, but the good thing about my situation is that it wasn't my first relapse.
No, I know.
So being that it wasn't my first relapse, I was able to handle the information better.
Yeah, but because you changed, because how you deliver. I remember listening to one of your video one time that you live the life differently, because when you see Thomas, you think, okay, he's cured. No, it's not. You're living with the disease, and my job is to make you live better and to give you that quality of life and make sure that I deliver the treatment, but I don't affect your quality of life. But sometimes we have to do that. I did when I did the transplant. I mean, see, the last transplant, you were very mad with me because you were in the hospital for a long time, and the chemotherapy was strong.
It was strong.
Yeah, you're like different, right?
Oh, yeah. I wasn't mad. It was just.
It was just. But we are responsible, we're responsible. When I make decisions of doing chemotherapy or something cumbersome, and I see my patient melting down, I feel responsible. I feel like I did that to them, right? And I remember coming to see you in the hospital, and you lost weight, yeah. You were not eating much, and I felt horrible. I was like, holy cow, what did I do?
It wasn't you.
Yeah, but
Well, I can see how from these stories you've shared, if you didn't have this bond and this relationship, things could have turned out much differently. You can look back on it today and smile and understand and appreciate where both people were coming from. So, let's go to some triumphant stories.
Yeah.
I'm sure in this long journey you've had a lot of wins and a lot of things to celebrate. So tell us about some things that came out even better because of the bond that you've created.
My journey, she's put me in a good place where when I go and tell my story, I can give her a lot of the credit, and especially when I'm around her colleagues in myeloma, because they try to steal me from her. They constantly say, "Hey, Cristina, I'm going to take this patient from you,"
Yeah.
because of the bond that we had and the type person that I am. That has brought me a mighty long way. So without the direction and the treatment that she's given me, I probably wouldn't be the advocate that I am. So advocacy through her has put me a mighty long way, brought me a mighty long way.
And I think you live your life differently, and how to approach. You don't have the anxiety. I have a lot of patients. I'm very anxious myself, right? And so I can feel it. I can sense it in the room when I enter. Another thing I learned very quickly, and also from personal experience, when I go into the room, I say, everything is okay, you are in remission. And then I come back and I start the conversation again, because it's what they want to hear. If I don't tell them right away, their mind, you can see the tension. I had some patients started to cry, and and so that you have to deliver
The good news
information
first.
right away, and say, your bone marrow was not perfect, but let me tell you, let me tell you what we're going to do. And so that became very important. And it was not like that when I met Thomas at the beginning of my career. But you learn from your patients, from your experience. And I do have patients they don't trust me. We have different relationship. We are human, and you don't have to be, in love with your physicians and trust everything she or he says. And so, in that situation, I always, suggest that you may want to look for somebody else, but you don't stay with a physician that you don't necessarily trust, because that is a bad relationship. It's like to stay in a marriage that doesn't work. And you have to move on and find the person that matches your personality. And that is what I want to deliver to my patients when they listen, when they're there, or when they're in the room. I say, you have to trust me. I'm not doing to you things that I'm imposing. I give you options. I guide you. I guide you to your journey. And there is a lot of cultural differences too that I learn. Is a little bit different, and it just comes with experience. I grew into the person that I am now, the physician I am now, and you as a patient that you are now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're different.
Well, this has been very enlightening. Great information on just how impactful it is to have that strong and resilient bond. Your genuine stories that you shared and the experiences bring that relationship to life. So thank you very much. In our next podcast of Mye Journey, we're going to focus on developing strong support systems, and we've heard a lot about that in the other episodes, but also we're going to talk about advocacy and the importance of fostering patient advocacy. So thank you.